Sitting around the campfire singing songs of yore, playing till my fingers are sore 'cause they always want one more. Yeah, we're sitting around the campfire singing songs of yore, playing till my fingers are sore on the Campfire Troubadour. Well, a good day to you fine gentlemen and ladies. Thank you for joining me today for a wee bit of singing and a wee history lesson. Now, they call me Two Wives, the Campfire Troubadour, singing songs of yore and songs about yore. Now, today I'll be singing a song that is going to be very familiar to most of you. However, I might be doing a version that you're not familiar with. The song is titled Faith's Review and Expectation. It was written as a poem in 1772, but it was soon set to music and published in 1779. Now, it was published as a hymn, and as most of you are aware, hymns are titled either by the number in the hymnal that they are, or they're titled by the first few words. And this one is no different, even though it was written as Faith's Review and Expectation. It came to be the beloved song we all know today as Amazing Grace. Now, it's interesting to note that the melody used today for Amazing Grace is a tune called New Britain. And the words and melody were combined and published in 1835 by composer William Walker. Now, prior to 1835, this song was sung to most any tune that was available, or at least it would have the same tune in each area, each congregation. Now, more than 60 of Newton's songs were published as hymns. They were routinely published in British hymnals and magazines, but Amazing Grace was not among them. The scholar Jim Julian commented in 1892, a dictionary of hymnology, that outside of the United States, the song was unknown, and that it was, quote, far from being a good example of Newton's finest work, end quote. Now, in fact, it was only published once in a 1780 hymnal that was sponsored by the Countess of Huntingdon. Now, although the song had its roots in England, Amazing Grace became an integral part of the Christian tapestry in the United States. A tremendous religious movement known as the Second Great Awakening swept through the United States in the early 18th century, marked by the religious revivals in Tennessee and Kentucky. Religion was stripped of ornamentation and ceremony, and it was made as plain and as simple as possible. Sermons and songs often relied on repetition to get across to the rural population of mostly poor and mostly illiterate people the necessity of turning away from sin. Now, Amazing Grace is one of the many hymns that punctuated these fervent sermons. Now, simultaneously, an unrelated movement of communal singing was established throughout the southern and western states. The seventh verse was added in 1829, and it's suspected that the author was John P. Reese, but there's limited proof to support such a case. Now, the seventh verse first appeared in print in 1852 in Harriet Beecher Stowe's novel Uncle Tom's Cabin. It was officially published around 1905. Now, coincidentally, the seventh verse is included in modern hymnals, but they often admit 2 or even 3 of the original verses that Newton wrote. On another note, Amazing Grace was included in 2 hymnals that were distributed to soldiers during the American Civil War on both sides of the conflict. Now, the United States Library of Congress has a collection of over 3,000 versions of Amazing Grace, including songs that were inspired by it. Now, the melody that I use to sing Faith's Review and Expectation is a melody from Rising Sun Blues. that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now am found. Was blind, but now I see. 'Twas grace that taught my heart to fear, and grace my fears relieved. How precious did that grace appear the hour I first believed. Oh, many dangers, toils and snares I have already come. 'Tis grace has brought me safe thus far, and grace will lead me home. The Lord has promised good to me, His word my hope secures. He will my shield and portion be, as long as life endures. Yes, when this flesh and heart shall fail, and mortal life shall cease, I shall possess within the veil a life of joy and peace. The earth shall soon dissolve like snow, the sun forbear to shine, but God who called me here below will forever be mine. And when we've been here 10,000 years, bright shining as the sun, we've no less days to sing God's praise than when we first begun. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now am found. Was blind, but now I see. Well, thank you for joining me today for a wee bit of singing and a wee history lesson. I hope you enjoyed our time together and mayhap even learned a wee bit. Now, until we meet again, I remain your humble servant, Two Wives, the Campfire Troubadour.